Hey everybody, and welcome back. This is the series called Deconstructing Kelly Brogan. This is episode 2. If you have not seen episode 1, you probably want to go back and do so. But for a quick recap, Kelly Brogan is a psychiatrist, but she also spouts some really crazy, weird wingnut pseudoscience, and she was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Now there's a lot of information we gotta get through, so we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into it.
Then like a paleo argument is like we've evolved the same way for 95% of our evolution, and now we just haven't taken enough time to evolve to catch up with today's modern influences, right?
How? How exactly do you mean? What are you talking about? How are we wildly different in how we're reacting to our environment compared to history? What is this supposed to mean? Tell me, Kelly.
But I actually think we're not meant to accommodate this, and we will self-extinguish, like if we don't course correct, which I have faith we will do. But we're not meant to adapt to this kind of lifestyle.
You mean like cubicle life, traffic?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. There are plenty of people who can live a very long, happy life working in a cubicle, raise their children, go on vacations, have life experiences, and then die happy and into old age. How exactly are they not adapted to that? I mean, this happens all the time. This is the life of many, many people. This is so fucking crazy.
So that you really
Chemicals,
think this will be the end of people if we don't course correct?
I think we will. And
Cubicles
I think
will
it's
eat your soul.
happening pretty much. Like, I think even though we could biologically adapt, I think we won't, because there is like a cosmic intelligence that is holding us accountable to a certain level of respect. For this human organism, a certain level of respect for the privilege of being alive, you know? And the way we're living today, just like trashing ourselves and trashing this planet, is a violation. So, I don't know. It's like a subtle point, but I think the point is we're not going to adapt. So don't wait for it, you know? And we're just going to get sicker and sicker and sicker and die. And perhaps that is the most intelligent
Damn, someone's
response.
a voice of doom and gloom.
Kelly, do you understand why there are so many more sick people in the country than there was previously in history? It's because we live longer. That's why. We live longer, and old people get sick. Imagine that. Now, it's really interesting because every first world country goes through a period of population boom. And why that is as our medical advances increase, our ability for sanitation increases, our ability to maintain services that can save the lives of people increase, then the people can have less kids. They don't have to have so many. The basic idea before was, well, a lot of kids die because the mortality rate was so high, you need to make sure you make a lot of kids so at least some of them will make it and carry on your line, carry on your genes. But when suddenly kids stop dying, people are still having as many kids. And then culturally, over a few decades, that slows down and it evens out. So that happened, and we decreased the mortality rate of children. But now, with biomedical science, we are allowing older people to live out longer lives. And as we continue to work on it, improve the quality of that life to the point where they are happy. But they're still going to get sick for one simple reason. They're old. Old people get sick. Our bodies are not designed to last forever. Yet. So, as things start to wear out, people get sick. We try and fight against it as best we can, prolong their life so they can see the rest of their family grow, and then eventually they die. But this idea that somehow things were better back in like the paleo days? Oh, yeah. I'd believe that. I would love to see a return to that kind of mortality. What the fuck are you talking about? No.
Okay. So the template for the diet that I recommend is based not only on like my personal experience, but also on my work with my mentor, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, who was the most badass figure in modern medicine.
Oh, and this is a good one. We're going to get into Nicholas Gonzalez here real soon.
He passed suddenly in 2015. But he, for 27 years, treated terminal cancer, metastatic, like no hope cancer, literally, neurodegenerative illnesses, Lyme disease, diabetes, all with 100% holistic approach that was based on 3 pillars.
Oh, it's coming. Just wait for it.
A personalized diet, so like 1 of 10 diets. Coffee enemas.
Oh.
Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it.
You heard of it, all right. Because it's like in the zeitgeist, like people are hearing about
Why coffee
enemas.
Why are you sticking coffee up your butt?
Yeah, I know. It's only necessary because we live in like a pretty toxic world at this point.
Oh, toxic world. Here we go. Time to talk about detoxifying. Oh, man, my favorite.
But what happens is the caffeine... Okay, so you're sticking this little tube like 12 inches up your butt, actually. I know. And it seems totally crazy and weird, but you do it all yourself. You don't go somewhere to do it. It's not like that. And you're hitting this, like, it's called a flexure. You're hitting this point right here where your intestines come across and then down, okay? And right there is a nerve bundle that reflexes to your, it's called a parasympathetic nerve bundle. It reflexes to your liver.
It reflexes to your liver. Really? Does it really do that, Kelly? Really?
And it basically helps your liver to dump toxicants. Like it's like a supercharging of your liver's ability to detox you, right?
By putting coffee in there?
Because the caffeine stimulates that nerve bundle. It's basically like jacking up your liver.
Do you want to know what a coffee enema actually does? I can tell you right away. It's real simple. You see, when you squirt a bunch of coffee up your butt, what you're doing is introducing caffeine directly into your bloodstream. It is stimulating you by, well, the psychoactive effects of caffeine, making you jacked up and jittery. Woo! But it also has the effect that, well, coffee always does. It loosens you up. It makes you need to poop. That's all it does. It in no way can actually detoxify your liver. It doesn't supercharge your liver. No. It makes you need to poop. And it gets you really fucking hyper.
Because we don't know how to detox better than our own body does. Your liver is charged with that responsibility.
Thank you.
So if you can help your liver do it, it's going to be best. And this is most relevant in cancer, like radical cancer treatments, because when the tumors are breaking down, you need to flush that waste or you'll die. Like literally, it's called tumor lysis syndrome.
Yeah, see, that's actually kind of complicated. She is right. There is some problems when you break up too much tumor tissue at once, and it can introduce into the bloodstream a lot of really bad shit. But there's a standard for how you are supposed to deal with it. If you're talking about this before you go through chemotherapy, largely what they're talking about doing is instituting resburicase, which is a treatment as well as possibly a diuretic. Now, a coffee enema does technically count as a diuretic. Sure, that might work. But really what it comes down to is if it's bad enough, you might have to go through hemodialysis, where they're basically filtering your fucking blood. And if this is after chemotherapy, you need to go and get some hemodialysis because this is a potentially fatal thing. If you're suffering from tumor lysis syndrome after your chemotherapy and you just start squirting a bunch of coffee up your ass, you're probably gonna die.
So, some early pioneers discovered that coffee enemas are critical, like literally life or death, critical for helping you flush those wastes. So I learned about them from the master, and since using them in my practice, completely changed my practice. So like a med taper that would take 2 to 3 years now takes me like 6 months with a given patient.
So let's talk about this master that she's talking about. By the way, that's a little creepy sounding, but whatever. Well, who she's talking about is Nicholas James Gonzalez, MD. And this guy, he started a protocol called the Gonzales Protocol. And it has never been recognized as providing any benefit whatsoever to the treatment of cancer by any cancer foundation. Period. Zero evidence. None. At all. But basically this whole thing was involving taking about 150 supplements of vitamins, minerals, and pancreatic enzymes, which were derived from pigs, daily coffee enemas, and special diets. Now, what's really fascinating about this is he started publishing these findings of, hey, look at the success that I've done. But when they went to go and look at it, an independent study, they this is too good. This is too amazing. I mean, you can't even write comedy this fucking good. But his own data itself showed that from the 55 patients he was featuring, 23 of them chose chemotherapy. And those 23 survived more than 3 times as long and had a better quality of life than those that followed the Gonzales Protocol. Yep.
So I came to Kundalini Yoga basically out of sheer desperation at a very difficult time in my life largely after my mentor died. And it totally changed rewired my nervous system, literally.
Literally rewired your nervous system? Really? How?
Where now nothing stresses me out.
But if you have someone, I mean, I'm obviously not a vegan.
What the fuck is up with her eyes?
Is this all science or is this anecdotal guesswork?
So when it comes to nutrition-based science, there ain't none.
I think that there are probably tens of thousands of people that would actually really strongly disagree with you on that one. But by all means, continue.
Right?
Oh.
There's just none. Because the idea of nutrition research is like taking one nutrient out of the context of the person, out of the context of their life, out of the context of their cultural, surroundings. That's how we treat it like a pharmaceutical. We look at a single nutrient out of, a whole complement of information.
That's how science works. That's like exactly how science is designed to work. When we're looking at biomedicine, you have to look at specifically the chemical action of every single thing that is going on inside your body. You can then build off of that in complex structures, and we do, but the idea that you're disparaging biochemistry because it's not broad enough, it's not designed to be broad enough. What the fuck?
So we just don't. I tried learning about nutrition that way, and I drove myself crazy because I was like,
chemistry is hard.
What the hell do I tell my patients to eat? I can't find any science to support this. And that's why I looked for outcomes. So Nick Gonzalez's outcomes are unprecedented in medical history.
Absolutely, I would agree. They're unprecedented in medical history because he defeated his own concepts with his own data and then claimed victory like some kind of fucking idiot. Yeah. No, I'd call that unprecedented. So I'm going to cut that there, and I'm pretty much going to stop for the day, and we're going to pick this up again in just a little bit, because there is still so much information, so much bullshit in this podcast that, man, it's going to take a bit, but it's also going to be pretty damn funny, so I hope you'll enjoy it. But I wanted to make mention of something, because this affected me in a really interesting way. So, a little bit of full disclosure here. I am something of a free speech absolutist. I really am. I believe that everybody should have the right to say whatever it is that they want. And this challenged me quite a bit. And the reason why it challenged me is because Kelly Brogan is an anti-vaxxer. Or, okay, let's call her a vaccine questioner or whatever the fuck she'd prefer. But she's a fucking anti-vaxxer. And the people who are going to be affected the most by anti-vaccine propaganda are going to be kids. And I do not want kids to be harmed unnecessarily. So when I started talking about this on Twitter, I had some very strong words. And I started saying that, maybe it is good to deplatform people who are anti-vaxxers. I know now that that's not really the right thing to say. And the reason why that is it's still protected speech. It is. I don't like it. I hate it. I absolutely find it disgusting. For me, I kind of think this is even worse than white nationalism. I just do, personally. On a personal basis, I think it's worse. So I find this disgusting. I find this abhorrent. And to have this woman, granted she's not talking about vaccines in this instance, but to have her on a platform like Joe Rogan's, that's huge, and she's spouting this bullshit. I don't want people to hear what she has to say because I'm afraid that they'll believe it. And if you go to the comments section of this podcast episode, you see that a lot of people do. But it's still protected. It's still protected. And we find ourselves in this very uncomfortable position where we basically have to wait. We have to wait and let somebody say something absolutely horrible. And then when the cost of it happens, people follow this advice. They don't vaccinate their kids and their kids die. Or they use a homeopathic remedy and a loved one dies. Then we can prosecute. Then we can take action against it. But there's nothing that you can do to stop somebody from talking on a podcast. And I know now that I personally was not necessarily out of line, but not thinking very clearly. So for that, this is something that was challenging me. And I'm glad that I came across it. And I'm glad that I'm making these videos. because this is how. This, right here, what I'm doing now and what you're watching, this is how we challenge this type of thing. Not by deplatforming, not by censoring, but by calling it out, shining a light on it, and explaining why it's fucking stupid. It's the best thing that we can do. It's just really, really, really frustrating. That's all. And there you have it, everybody. Episode 2 of Deconstructing Kelly Brogan. I hope to see you guys here for episode 3. And otherwise, have a great day. Bye.